Hi, Jeff Price here. Welcome to Season 3 of Telling Tales. We have brand new stories for you. We'll take you from the Sahara Desert and time travel to a dystopian future. We'll meet up again with John Paul Doherty and Mary McGlade. Now, all the stories are free to download, and if you enjoy them, why not buy me a cup of coffee? The link is on the podcast front page. I hope you enjoy them. The Café, a short story by Jeff Price. Zoe stood overlooking the bay. Below her, she could see a few swimmers enjoying a freezing cold plunge into the North Sea. They're mad, she thought. It's November on the northeast coast, and her face was tingling with the cold. She checked her phone. No message, and it was 10 already. As she entered the Wheelhouse Cafe, she was amazed how little it had changed over the last 10 years. The kitsch seashell ornaments on the shelves, the fishing nets hanging from the ceiling, and the capstan on the counter. And even though the staff had changed, the menu hadn't. A flat white and a piece of carrot cake, please. That'll be $8.50, the waitress muttered. Where are you sitting? So he glanced around the room. The cafe was half full. In one corner, the yummy mummies with their oversized pushchairs were in holy conclave, while their children mewled. There was a small table for two in a far corner. Over there in the window. I'll bring it over. The entire conversation took place without the waitress even looking up or smiling. Zoe sat down and gazed out of the spume-stained window and wondered if this year it would be different. If she'd turn up. She checked her phone again. Still no message. It was 10:15. Even though it was 10 years since Rebecca had walked out of the house, the sound of the door slamming still echoed in her ears. So much had changed since then, but every year she left a message on her Facebook page saying she would be at the Wheelhouse Cafe on the 27th of November at 10 and attached her email address. And every year she made the journey back to Cullercoats, and every year she waited for Rebecca, who never came. Zoe wasn't even sure she read the messages. Once again she checked her phone. Still nothing. It was 10:30. Zoe had been over that moment 10 years ago 1,000 times in her head. All the things she didn't say that day, all the hurtful things she did say. Theirs had always been a difficult relationship. Rebecca was quick to take offence, and Zoe was quick to rise to the bait. Rebecca was 16, and over the 16 years of her life, her mother had sacrificed a lot to make sure that she was cared for and loved. But being a single mother meant they both had to make compromises, and neither of them were very good at that. Back then, Zoe's career was beginning to take off. She'd passed her bar exams, and being the only woman in chambers meant a huge workload. She'd often be out early in the morning and back late at night. And Zoe had to trust her, but teenagers are not to be trusted. And that night she came back unexpectedly early and found Rebecca and her boyfriend Zach in bed together, and the bedroom reeking of weed. The cafe door swung open, and Zoe quickly checked out the latest customer. From the wet hair, she assumed it was one of the swimmers, draped in a long, padded robe. Zoe went back to her thoughts. The fight that had followed was a mess of pent-up accusations, misdirected insults, and Zoe regretted every word of it. When she got back from work the next day, Rebecca was gone. The police weren't interested. Zach said he had no idea where she was, and despite all her efforts, Zoe couldn't find her. The only sighting of her was from an old friend who said she'd seen her in a nightclub in Newcastle. Zoe thought, it's 11 now. She's not coming. Now the young mothers had left the cafe, and it was the turn of the pensioners in their heavy-duty raincoats, scarves, and gloves. Zoe ordered another coffee. Around her, the hubbub of conversation continued, but she wasn't listening, just looking around every time the door opened. A young man entered and looked around the cafe. Zoe vaguely recognized him, but as it wasn't Rebecca, she ignored him. She then realized he was looking at her and coming across to her table. This seat's taken. I'm waiting for somebody, Zoe said, trying to muster a smile. I know, he replied. Oh my God, Zach! She suddenly blurted out. Zoe quickly glanced around the room, but there was no Rebecca. She's not coming, Mrs. Hudson. His hair was a lot shorter, but he was no longer in the dark, baggy clothes of a 15-year-old, but in a smart North Face jacket and jeans. Sorry. Zoe was struggling to understand what was happening. She was pleased that Zach was there, but disappointed Rebecca wasn't. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Eventually, she managed to compose herself and her thoughts. Is she okay? She's good. Then why are you here? She's seen your messages, and she knows you've been coming here, but she asked me to tell you she isn't coming, and never will. Zoe could feel the tears welling up inside, and the old anger was beginning to rise like bile. She's always known I'd come here. There was anger in her voice. And then she couldn't come herself and tell me to my face? Doesn't she want to see her own mother? You drove her away, remember, Mrs. Hudson. The last 10 years have not been easy for her. She has had a lot of healing to do. It wasn't my fault. I was a single parent. I was trying to do my best. She was 16. Zach was beginning to tire of Zoe's defensiveness. You were the adult, not her. She needed your protection, and not your disappointment. Zoe took a tissue from her handbag and wiped the tears from her face. She stretched out her hand and placed it on Zach's. Sorry, that was uncalled for, Zach. There hasn't been a day since that fight that I haven't thought of her and haven't regretted everything I said. I was wrong, so wrong, and I know that, and I'm sorry, and I would give anything to go back in time and start again, but I know I can't. I know that too, Mrs. Hudson. Okay, let's start again. Tell me about you two. Are you working, Zach? Is Rebecca happy? We're good. I work for the government, and we have a nice little place that suits the three of us. The word three hit Zoe like a thunderbolt. Three? You have a child? Zoe's heart was pounding. Yes, we have a gorgeous little boy. He's 6 months old. He's called Tom. Zach picked up his phone and turned it towards Zoe. Oh my God, he's beautiful. And look at Rebecca. She's smiling, really smiling. They both look so happy. The words trailed away as a mist of impenetrable as sea fog clouded her vision. The joy of seeing her daughter and her child in the photo collided like a car crash with the feelings of loss that consumed her. I'm sorry, Mrs. Hudson. Maybe I shouldn't have shown you that, but I felt you had a right to know. Some of the other customers had noticed the intensity of the conversation and were looking at them and whispering to each other. Zach could feel the attention. He leaned across the table. Why don't we go for a little walk? Zoe nodded, turned, took her coat from the back of the chair, and the two of them left the cafe. The sea was calm now. The sun had struggled from behind a shield of clouds. The dog walkers and the joggers jostled for space on the promenade as the two walked in silence. Zoe took Zach's arm. If Rebecca doesn't want to forgive me, I understand. Could I have an address I could send letters to, birthday presents, and maybe get some news from you? That's not my decision to make. Life for us is simple now. There's no drama, no fights. Becky's happy and content, and she doesn't want to jeopardize that. I love our life together, and every year I beg her to come and speak to you, or even just write and share her news, but she's adamant. But since Tom was born, things feel different. I can't promise you anything, but I will try. Zach handed Zoe his phone. Put your number in there, but you must promise me you will not ring me. I'll be in touch when things change, but you have to be patient. Just tell her I'm sorry, that I love her and I miss her. I really messed up big time, but I'm still a mother, and any news would be wonderful. Thank you. Zach stopped and pointed to the other side of the road. That's my car. I'm going now. I'm glad we met up, Mrs. Hudson. Goodbye. Zoe flung her arms around Zach and hugged him. Goodbye, Zach. Please call me Zoe. Thank you for coming today. It must have been really hard for you. Zoe watched as the car disappeared along the seafront. Down in the water below, the cold water swimmers shrieked. The dog walkers walked on, heads bowed. Hope, Zoe thought. There is still hope. And seconds later she blurted out loud the words, "Bloody hell, I'm a granny!" much to the consternation of a golden retriever and its confused owner. Thank you for listening to Telling Tales. If you enjoyed the story, please share with your friends. If you have any questions, then there's an email link on the front page. See you next time.